Hello everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Monday, Memorial Day. I hope you're having a fantastic holiday weekend. Obviously, if you're in the States, if you're elsewhere, happy Monday to you if you're watching this. Thank you so much for joining me once more. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I just want you to know that, of course. I've been trading for a very long time, and I hope you can learn something here today. That's the goal. I'm passionate about that, so please see what you can learn and let me know if you do. At this point, though, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of just take a look at the big picture, look at yesterday's trading, which was a pretty decent green day for a change, and kind of see what that means for the next few trading days. Again, today being a Monday, normally you see blood in the water, but it's a holiday, so that's kind of delayed. Please understand, we could very well still see a sell-off tomorrow. Just kind of throwing it out there. That being said, let's go ahead and take a look here, of course, at the monthly. Now, with the monthly, I've addressed this multiple times. I'll briefly gloss over it, but being underneath the 20-day cent moving average, we've done that before. When we did that last, we spent about 6 months underneath that time frame, or underneath that moving average. So right now, unless the price, catapults up to about 42,000 or higher, we really have no reason to consider that to be something of note. In other words, we're probably not going to be back up above that for some time. That being said, it's usually, again, about a 6-month time frame, and what often happens as well is the price comes down to touch and or bounce off of the 50-day simple moving average, which is this orange line here, trending at about 21,000. Okay, so that's kind of just the elephant in the room there. You can also see it as well, RSI peaking under 50, and that's typically an adverse sign because anytime it's done this in the past, you can see that 6-month time frame is spent underneath 50 on the RSI, and that was the exact same time that we had this amount of price action. So that was roughly 3.5 years ago, okay? Just to give you perspective. All right, so taking a look at the weekly. Let's go ahead and see kind of what's up with this. And, pretty straightforward, very similar situation. We're under both moving averages, the important ones, 50 and the 20. Now, also equally as important is the 200-day cent moving average, which is trending at about 22,000. Also very, very important to understand that could very well be a support level. So is 21 to 22,000 possible? Absolutely. Is a price point much lower than that ideal or potentially going to happen? Probably not. And that's just, again, my speculation. I don't think we're going to see under that based on the fact that that was a previous high. Anytime Bitcoin in its history is retested a previous high, it established itself as the new low. So it makes sense that we're going to come back down to retest our previous high. Okay. Again, that's just kind of something to consider and to understand. And also, of course, we've been stuck under 50 on the RSI for quite some time since late December. All right, so taking a look at the data, this is actually one of the more important ones to look at because obviously there's some patterns that you want to try to identify, but also, the daily is a smaller time frame here in this sense, and we really need to kind of look at some smaller times, but not too small, to understand kind of where we're going to go next. And what I mean by that is just the stark reality that we have right here. If we look at this, you can see there is 3 white soldiers forming here today. In other words, we got this staircase type of pattern where the price comes up and over consistently. Previous close is lower than the current open, essentially. It just continues higher, right? So when you see three white soldiers, this is typically a signal of bullish momentum. Obviously, there's no doubt that we can't disagree with that. But what you need to understand, though, is that 2 of these trading days were weekends, and that's not really the greatest barometer for momentum, right? So we've in essence had 1 day of momentum. So that being said, try not to try to take this with a grain of salt, but on the same accord, 3 white soldiers is oftentimes a bullish continuation pattern. So for the most part, it's supposed to go up and over after the 3 days and then continue higher. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, statistically, I've ran some statistics on this, and I can tell you that for the most part, based on this type of situation in crypto, more specifically, based on the larger movements and how hard things can move and how quick. Also with the greed, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, all that wonderful stuff, the likelihood of this continuing upwards from here, I would say, is lower than it is to continue down. And the main reason why I think that is just based on Bitcoin being Bitcoin, and we have some strong resistance levels, particularly 31,500. So if the price were to close today above 30,600, that would be helpful. But below that would be disadvantageous in a sense. And what that does, basically just telling us that's a strong resistance level. We can see the price wicked up there 3 times and couldn't pass it. So for right now, while we're having a nice green day here, obviously enjoy that, take some profits if possible, but I wouldn't anticipate the price action shooting up higher from here. Again, we might see perhaps another continuation, a day or two higher, where the price will keep going. But there's a lot of reasons why we shouldn't celebrate that yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. First of all, RSI is hitting 50 or testing 50 almost at this point. It's right around 47. So if you kind of look at that and see if it's synonymous with the price action here, what do you know? When the RSI is going to be testing 50 officially, it'll be closer to 31,500. So it really just tells us that 31,500 or even a one-day candlestick close of 31,300, more importantly, is probably going to be the level in which we'll see the price action get rejected. That's 450 at the RSI is holding. Something important to understand. Another thing as well, I would imagine that the RSI is extremely overextended on the 4-hour, which it is. So if we take a look here, we see the price action come up. If I'm not mistaken too, we might be overextended as well onto sequential. We hit a 9, and we're now about 16 hours into this continuation to the upside. So honestly, the price should have got stopped out here, but it continued through. Probably a nice little short squeeze to push the price action higher. I know 2.5 million short contracts got wrecked right around 29,800. So there's a great chance of that just push the price action higher. That being said, either way you look at it, we're overextended on the RSI on the 4-hour. And this is something important to note. Anytime we've been above 70 on the RSI, we've seen immediate rejections and or a potential for downside after to follow. Let me go ahead and explain that here. So take a look here. So last time RSI was up over 70, what do you know? Right at 48,000 when we hit our highest point in March. We have not seen a price point that high since. It's been literally going straight down from there. Okay, that was the last time RSI over 70 happened. Prior to that, of course, this was kind of a strange time when the price was continuously shooting up and shooting down, but it was followed by a decrease here. This is RSI up over 70, RSI over 70. You could argue the same thing here as well. RSI peaked up over 70 here, continued up. So in essence, that does kind of contradict that. But it did inevitably come back down later, days later, right? So again, we get a continuation of the upside here. It's all well and good. It's potential. It's that relief rally that we've been expecting. But how strong is that relief rally going to continue? Because we still have a CME gap we need to get filled. There's a lot of different things that are kind of adding to the equation here that still stack up in the downside or to the downside versus the up. All right. So again, just some important things to acknowledge and understand. I do think that this is a stark reality. RSI being up over 70 is concerning for me because I do not like that. Again, it's based on the fact that this weekend was just kind of a slow, momentous continuation to the upside, and we had this strong push, likely a short squeeze that drove the price action higher. Not something to get super excited about. I mean, I love to see a green day, don't get me wrong. Seeing this here is a nice change of pace. We really like to see that. But there's always a trade-off, and Bitcoin has been dead cat after dead cat, and I'm just kind of tired of seeing us get wrecked. And we could very well see continuation lower. Now, is it going to happen today or tomorrow? Maybe, maybe not. The likelihood of tomorrow being a profit-taking day for the bulls that are back in session, being a weekday, the first trading day of the week, I think there's a strong chance we're going to see a correction tomorrow, just based on the statistics and how oftentimes Mondays, or in this case Tuesday, is essentially the take profit day for most of the whales. And what do you know? I mean, they got some juicy profits here. They sold off and got in around 28,700. They're up about 7%. They're going to take their profits, man. There's just no other way around it. So again, the question though is, if they're taking their profits on that day, tomorrow, for example, is the price going to shoot straight down, or is there going to be some buying pressure as well? The 3 white soldiers implies we're going to see some buying pressure, and we should expect the price to go sideways as it is right now. That's an anticipation. But again, just if history repeats itself, we can just see, Fridays and Mondays are just seriously strong red days. Okay, so just something to kind of think about. All right, last thing we're going to take a peek at is TD sequential on the 1 hour. We got overextension there to 9. We're up over consolidation. Really not that big of a deal. But what we can kind of see here on a smaller time frame is the price is essentially getting kind of rejected out at this Fibonacci retracement level at 30,600. So again, a candlestick close over 30,600 today would be very impactful, very beneficial, but still honestly doesn't matter too much in the big picture based on the overall sense of where we're at in the trading days. 3 strong green days on a weekend, a holiday weekend specifically, does not seem like a very awesome situation to me. All right, that is not like a, we're going to the moon situation. We saw that during the weekday, perhaps a different story, but yeah, I don't know. A weekend, 7% increase over 3 trading days, that really doesn't excite me much, right? Again, we all have different thoughts, different considerations. You can disagree if you want, but I do not have a lot of faith in this push here. And again, if we look at the volume, yes, we see an increased amount of volume, but it's nowhere near the amount of volume we need to be able to continue to sustain. So the important thing to identify is if the trading day comes to an end later here today, and we start seeing the volume tapering off, that would be something to concern ourselves with, because it means there's no buying pressure, less buying pressure, and the likelihood of being selling pressure tomorrow is greater. Again, everything's kind of adding up to a red day tomorrow. That's just my speculation. Not to say we won't have a red day tomorrow and then a green day to follow that. That's a very good possibility based on the 3 white soldier pattern. But again, it's a little too early to tell. I just don't love weekends, low volume weekends followed by a high volume holiday. It doesn't make any sense to me it makes sense perfectly here based on the fact that we squeezed out a lot of shorts, but I would say adding to your position right now would be disadvantageous. I think the likelihood of the price coming back down is greater. That's just, again, my personal opinion. Very last thing we want to look at would be the Ichimoku cloud. Pretty obvious here. Weekend material, content, basically pushing the price action higher. There's nothing really to be concerned with here, except for the fact that the lagging span may intersect with the price action within the next 12 hours. And if that were to, that would be a pretty good sign that this momentous trend is reaching an end and we'll probably see a push to the downside. Okay, so I would venture to guess we're going to see this cloud retested again tomorrow, where the price action will probably do something along those lines, and we'll see what happens. Excited to find that out. But for now, again, enjoy it while you can. This is great. It's nice to have a green day. Don't get me wrong. Just try not to be fooled by this, because it's happened so many times in the past, and that overextension on the RSI in a 4 hour, as well as a handful of all the other things I just discussed, doesn't bode a lot of confidence in this direction. Okay, still got a lot of room to grow here, and honestly, until we break back up above this trend line here, we're not going to really have much of a leg to stand on. And yes, you could argue that we're up over the 20-day set moving average on the 1 day, but that still doesn't hold a lot of weight compared to all the other stuff that we're seeing here as potential resistances. All right, so I hope that helped you in making a decision here. I'm gearing up for a potential short position here soon, depending on how the trading day will end. So again, a close above 30,600. I may wait and see how that plays out. But if it closes below, I think that we might anticipate a pretty decent sell-off tomorrow, and it might be a good profit-taking day for the bears. Just something to think about. All right, thanks again for joining me here. Hope you had a wonderful experience, and happy holidays to you. Thanks so much for joining me, of course, on a holiday or just a Monday. Mondays are fun days, right? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. CryptoCache.tech is a site, link in the description below. I forgot to mention, too, that I do offer discounts for military in third world countries. So message me direct if you'd like information on that. Just make sure you use the contact information down below, and don't try to respond to the ridiculous amount of spammers that I get. I mean, it's a great honor to have them trolling my channels, but they're completely spineless and good for nothing. So if you're watching this, which I'm sure you aren't because you don't really care about the content, you suck. All right. Anyways, let's leave it positive. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next one.